Did you start off like college radio at Purdue, or was that and
Yeah,
then
well, I started working for the newspaper. That was
okay.
where I got involved in the communication sides of things, in journalism. And I went to work for the college paper, the Exponent they called it. And this paper had a 20,000 circulation daily.
Wow.
Bigger than most city
Yeah.
newspapers,
Right.
across the country, really.
Wow.
And it was like $1 million organization,
Mhm.
and there was a staff of like 150. And I go there, and I just fall in love with it. I'm like, oh my god, this is great. And they're like, well, you can put a sentence together. Let's make you a writer. And then later on, I became the managing editor of it, and I was running the newsroom. And then I'm out at for my 20th, around my 21st birthday. I'm out at a bar, and a local radio station was having a remote, and one of the guys that was doing part-time news for them was getting ready to move on, and the news director said, hey Dean, do you know anybody that would like to do what you're doing when you leave? And he's like, that guy pointed over at me. She goes, oh, would you be interested? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he sounds like a radio guy.
Yeah, I was really enthusiastic. But then I go on and I write a story for her, and I record a story, and she's like, you'd be great at this. So I go out and cover ribbon cuttings and ditch diggings and all this stuff that I didn't care at all about in Lafayette, Indiana. And then so finally I go to the program director and I beg to be on the air to do something on the music side of things, programming side. And he lets me do Sunday nights. I put the King Biscuit Flower Hour discs on the turntable and pressed play and played that, and Superstar
Welcome to
Concert
Showbiz.
Series.
Superstar Concert Series.
And then I just kept them on the air. What's funny though is I would hear, executive director Norm Pattis, and all of these names of the people that work at Album Network and these places.
Westwood One.
Yeah, Westwood One.
Mm-hmm.
And then I come out here and I meet them all, and I end up working with most of them, at one time or another. So it was kind of a full circle thing. But if you would have told me I'd still be in radio, I would have been surprised at that point. But after a while, because I thought, oh, you know what, I can do this in Lafayette, Indiana. But in Indianapolis, they're really good. There's no way I can do it down there.
That's the big time.
Yeah, that's big time. So then I go down to Indianapolis and I do it for a while there. I'm like, okay, I think I could do this. I can cut this. But I could never do it in Los Angeles because they're really good there. And then I come out here and I'm like, I could probably do this. I'm never, I'm not Casey Kasem, but I think I can hang and do this for a while. And 25 years later, here I am still.
So who'd you send your first tape to?
Oh, so I got here in March of, it was 25 years ago, so March of 97. And I first of all, I get a part-time job. Temp job. I forget what the name of the agency was, but I remember distinctly what my first job was. It was working for Michael Milken's Cap Cure, his prostate cancer research organization. Yeah. And Michael Milken had a checkered past, but you can't fault that sort of work that's on the up and up. And so my job was keeping their database current. So I would have these pages of people to call, and the usual call would be something like, hi, is Thomas Smith there? My name's Andy. I'm calling from Cap Cure in Santa Monica, California. He did. I'm so sorry for your loss.
Oh, jeez.
Yes, I will update our records. I'm very sorry. You have a wonderful day. It was hours of that, of calling, and it was just horrible. It was dreadful. But I did that for like 2 weeks, and I sent out 5 tapes. I sent one to KLOS, Star 98, K-Rock, Y107, and what was the other one? Can't remember what the other one was.
Another rock station?
K-West?
Oh, maybe Arrow. Arrow. Maybe it might have been Arrow 90.
Yeah, 90s. It was probably.
Yeah. And I eventually heard back from several of them, but I dropped that off on a Friday at 5:00, and Monday morning I heard from Y107, and Steve Blatter, who's now running Sirius XM,
Yeah.
said, "Hey, would you come and do an audition?" And I'm like, "Sure," because at midnight in Los Angeles, there are as many people listening as there are at broad daylight at noon in Indiana.
Sure.
So he wanted to see if I could handle it doing a break, and so I came in and did it. And the next day he's like, "Hey, you want to do middays?" I was the first person on middays at Y107. I was there for a couple of years. So yeah, it was pretty fun. And then that station, they fired all of us and changed it, and then eventually got sold and went Spanish.
Yeah.
I went to Channel 103.1, which was there for a couple years, and then the AM/FM Clear Channel merger made them have to sell that off. It counted as 2 signals, and it was the smallest one, so they got rid of that. Of course, that ended up being later on, a couple years later, a few years later, it was it was, and then it was Indy 103.1.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Station I always loved, but never got to work there. And then in 2008, they started up the Sound, and I went, and I was the first voice and the last voice, live voice on 100.3 The Sound, and then went out to KCSN, and I've been there pretty much ever since. Music director and afternoon drive at KCSN.